Okay, this is the second video featuring the mystery acacia species that I have. In the previous video, I explained how these ones have been fairly difficult to create into a more condensed, compact bonsai specimen. I'd hoped that they would have some kind of canopy at this point, but we're behind schedule. There are some things I really like about this tree. And you can take a look here. It's got this really interesting textured bark. And if I dug down deeper, I'm sure I'd get some kind of nice thicker base that I can rely on if I get rid of some of these aerial roots. But it's got some movement, and then it branches and forks into these two, which is pretty common. You see them on the landscape, they tend to branch up. And then from that point, you get this really interesting canopy. Now, this is where things kind of fall apart. Up until this point here, I expected those primary branches, and then I cut them back, and I expected 2 or 3 buds to kind of take off and create that nice rounded canopy. Instead, what happened is every branch that I cut back would ultimately die. There's a good example. I had one there that died. This branch died. This branch here died. And I decided to take a step back and change the plan. And typically what I'd do in the summer, I'd bring them in and they'd have all this growth, and then I'd cut them back to more manageable size, in part due to size constraints, because they get very long and rangy here. And ultimately what I've been left with is this unmanageable, messy tree. So plan going forward is this. I've resisted all attempts to cut it back. I will continue to do so until the spring. When it starts to grow more vigorously, and I see some more buds from other parts of the tree, I'll cut it back aggressively and try and force it to put out more of a canopy shape. So I've got to get rid of this inverse taper here. I've got to get rid of that inverse taper there. Those are kind of non-negotiables. And then I'll strategically look for back buds to see if I can create a more compact structure and clean up some of the mess. And what I'm counting on is the fact that it's an older tree. It has a more established root base. I haven't done a lot of work on it, so it should have a ton of energy. And then I'm going to let it loose in the spring, have it grow, maybe do a prune again in the summer to try and manage it more. But this is kind of the year in my head. Like, these ones have to start to take shape this year, or I may have to take some other action. But it's in the wild, I know these are beautiful trees. When I saw them in the wild, they're stunning, but they're just very difficult to manage. They just want to grow tall, they want to grow big, and obviously my goal is to do the exact opposite. Some trees are just known to be difficult to work with. Fever trees, another acacia species, notoriously difficult. It could very well be that this species just doesn't adhere well to regular bonsai techniques, but we'll see. Anyway, I'll give an update. I'll probably include a video of cutting it back when the springtime comes, and we'll kind of see what this tree can do. It does not have a shortage of buds that I can maybe use to shape the canopy, but whether they're activated or not, it's always been a guessing game. Sometimes I think I've nailed it, and then what it'll do is it'll put a new branch or a new shoot in a place that's completely unexpected. I have another one that I can show you that's going to show you an example of that here in a minute. But anyway, mystery species, specimen number 2. We'll see this one back in the spring when we start doing some real pruning.